All right, it's 6 p.m. So now the waiting is over. We can start the program. Welcome to this evening's program, Developing Your Professional Experience. We're happy to have Liz M Lopez with us this evening. Before she gets started, we just have a few housekeeping items and a little bit of information to share. This is an interactive program. You can ask questions. So if you're watching on your computer, you should see a questions section in the control panel. Submit your questions there and we'll get you some answers. Also, if you're watching on a phone or tablet, there's a question mark icon that you will tap to submit your questions. Also, you're going to receive a survey in your email after this session. Please let us know how your experience was. That's going to help us plan our future sessions. And also, this is going to be recorded and posted to the library's YouTube page, so you can watch it again or share it with someone who finds it useful. All right, with that out of the way, I can officially say welcome. My name is Chris from Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library. And we are thrilled and honored to have Liz M. Lopez with us here again. Hi, Liz, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Chris. Always an honor to be here collaborating.
Thank you. We're very, very grateful, and we're looking forward to this presentation. Again, it's called Developing Your Professional Experience. This program is part of our library's Build Communities. It's a collaboration between our library system and the USF School of Information's Responsive Librarianship Group. To learn more about that, you can go to our landing page at hcplc.org/libraries build communities. And also our book shout out tonight is a book by Carly Fiorina. It's called Find Your Way, Unleash Your Power and Highest Potential. This is available as an ebook through our Libby Overdrive collection. And to find out about all of our ebooks and different collections that you can browse, you can go to hcplc.org/ebooks. All right, so now I'm going to turn off my screen and I'm going to give Liz screen control so she can get the presentation underway. And I'm also going to turn off my mic and camera and hand it over to you, Liz.
Okay, great. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I've kind of tweaked the title of this just a little bit. So if you're in the audience and you're seeing a little bit of a difference, I'm going to talk to you about developing your professional excellence, because experience is fantastic, but I want to give you an extra up level on this. So we're going to talk about how to develop your professional excellence. A little bit about me. I am an executive career and business coach. I do a lot of speaking. I've been very privileged and honored to have written a best-selling book. And I love working with corporate professionals, executives, and business owners to help them achieve life-changing levels of success, either in their careers or in their business. My upcoming book that will be coming out next year is Permission to Dominate, and I have a variety of coaching programs, including Executive Career Mastery, as well as my Client Magnet Bootcamp for business owners, and my upcoming Profit Masters program also for business owners. I want to talk to you today about the reality of our working world. The fact that whether we're business owners or employees, but this especially if we're employees of an organization, you know, 1/3 of our life is going to be spent at work. 1/3 of our life, cumulative. You take all those hours, 90,000 hours in an average lifetime is going to be spent at work. That's a lot of time. And we get to choose how we execute those hours. And my guidance is to always take a path that allows you to make those hours amazing. What I'm going to talk to you about today are what are some areas in which you have full control of these hours that you spend. Because there's some arenas in which we feel like our employer kind of tells us what to do. We have a boss and there's a company, there's policies and procedures and there's rules, and we may sometimes feel a little powerless. But a message I want you to receive tonight is that while the job may belong to the employer, your career belongs to you. So when we get to feeling maybe that we're a little bit uncomfortable in our role, or maybe we've outgrown our role or feel underutilized or underpaid, that there are things that we can do that will allow us to gain more control of our working life, and especially more control over the direction of our career. And I'm going to share 3 ways that you can develop your professional excellence, where you can elevate your experience into that level of excellence so that you are far more marketable. Let's start with your where you are, far more valued where you are. B, far more marketable should you want to make a shift. And C, that you are so beautifully connected and powerful in expressing the value of your career, that should you decide to make a change, that it's not as grueling of a process as it would be if you were disconnected. So let's start walking through these 3 items. The first piece in crafting your professional excellence is crafting your professional mindset, is owning how you think about your job and your career. Because the truth is that what you think and what you say about your career turns into what you live in your career. The experience that we offer and the experience that we get is very much tied to our attitude. Some of you may remember the legend of Don Quixote. Right? So many of us read that book in high school, where Don Quixote is running around Spain fighting windmills because he thinks they're dragons, right? He thinks there's monsters. So he's going around and he actually ends up hurting himself pretty badly, attacking things that actually didn't have any bearing on him, right? Because he had a belief system that told him that these things were dangerous or these things were harming him, that he then engaged in radical action to fight against this and injured himself, right? You have to avoid exhausting yourself fighting windmills and really get thoughtful around what are real situations versus what are situations that you can control and which ones you can't. Often, a way to avoid getting involved with drama and to elevate your mindset and your attitude around your career is by building confidence and knowing your value. And a great way to build your confidence is to build an achievement inventory. This is a tracker. It's a way for you to track what you've been accomplishing in your career. You see, very often we get under the impression that our employer is supposed to track what things we do and things we don't do. And oftentimes, professionals wait around for somebody to recognize how hard they work. And you can get into a place of discomfort when you're passed up for opportunities where you're not receiving the merit that you think you deserve, where you're not being valued or acknowledged. And oftentimes it's because you're not really speaking your value. You're not creating a positive environment in which you can confidently speak your value. And by that, I mean that you're not resentfully kind of screaming out what you've done and, hey, look at me, but that you are highly aware of what you've contributed because you've tracked it and you can speak to your results at the drop of a hat. In any given moment, you can present evidence of your excellence that validates your experience. So I encourage you all to build an appointment into your calendar every month. Maybe it's the beginning of the month, maybe it's the middle of the month, maybe it's the end of the month. Pick a time that works for you and track your big accomplishments and even your little wins, because little wins add up to a lot of great action. Write down your projects, your people, the dates, the budgets, the situation, your actions, and the measurable results. You see, we think that we're going to remember the big things that we've done. And I don't know about you, but if I were to ask you what you had for lunch 2 days ago, would you remember? Probably not, right? We think that when we do something big at work that we're always going to remember this, but then next time we're doing something else big and something else big and something else big. And this gets to be a dangerous place for people, especially if they've not been tracking their achievements. And all of a sudden, they spend 5, 6, 10, 20, 31 years at a job. And now they find themselves in a position where they have to look for a new job and they're trying to recreate the history of their career. But if you've been proactive, if you've been cultivating your professional excellence and you've developed your own tracker, you're going to have this huge bucket of content, all these records that you keep securely in your own devices, right? Don't store this in your employer's computer. Make sure you're making your own notes. That said, be careful not to grab anything that may be proprietary to the employer, but just keep your own notes of your achievements. And the reason I say to keep it on your own device is because it happens even at the professional and the executive level. People go into work and the doors are locked. And the whole history of your career, sometimes it's people's resumes, their performance reviews, all their records, their notes, everything was on that work laptop, on that work computer, on that work server, and now they no longer have access. Remember, the job belongs to the employer, but your career belongs to you. So save all of your own records on a device that belongs to you. Okay? Fantastic. Let's move on to the second way in which you can elevate your professional excellence, where you can turn that experience into value. And that's by really getting tuned into your professional brand and being able to comfortably speak your value and powerfully speak your value. You see, when you build that tracker and you're writing down all the things that you've accomplished, you have a different perspective of yourself, of someone who's just in the grind of work and not really realizing what they're contributing. When you have vision, when you have visibility, and you understand how your work improves the company, improves the team, improves the metrics, improves the company, when you're wise to your own contributions and performance, you position yourself to be able to speak of yourself in a more powerful way. Now, there's coaching that I do where I teach my coaching clients how to use the SPARK method, how to get really into the situation, the point of it all, the action items, the results, and the connectivity, right? So we use a framework to build how they communicate themselves in a way that's really high impact. And that works exceptionally well when you're networking, when you're talking to other people, when you're talking to, certainly when you're going for your performance reviews, and absolutely makes a massive difference when you are in interviews. I like people to really learn how to speak powerfully of themselves, of their career, so that it's received well. Like, it's impressive, but it doesn't come across as bragging. Because the second piece to all this, the second tool that I'm giving you today, is to have a relationship building plan, to consistently build and nurture your relationships. Professionals have a tendency to go into a job and they're so incredibly happy with the job at the beginning. They got this new job and they bury themselves in the work and in meeting the new people and the team and the projects, the work, and they stop talking to other people. They stop talking to other colleagues. They don't talk to mentors. They don't go to any networking or association meetings. They just kind of get buried in the job and neglect the career. And what happens is that eventually, and this happened to so many people in 2020, they were so disconnected that when all of a sudden those jobs went away, they're reaching out to people they haven't talked to in 3, 5, 10 years and going, hey, I'm in the job market. And that's never received well. You know, when you pop up into somebody's radar because you need something and you haven't cultivated that relationship, you haven't nurtured that relationship, it just comes across as rude, it's awkward, it creates discomfort. So my guidance to you is that you are consistently building and nurturing relationships. Think about what you can do, how you can connect with at least 2 people a week. 2 people a week, whether it's former colleagues, former bosses, people that you admire in the industry, people that are in the job that you want to do next, you want to learn about it, people at a company you really admire, industry leaders. Who are you connecting with, and how are you truly, genuinely building relationships with them? Keep in touch. Keep in touch with the people in your work, in your places of worship, in your hobbies, like other parents, like everybody that you meet. Nurture those relationships, keep in touch, and powerfully be able to speak about what it is that you do. Don't gloss it over, and don't waste opportunities. So many times somebody asks us, what do we do for a living? And if you're not in the greatest position, or if you don't love your job, you may have a tendency to kind of tone it down or badmouth it, or like, oh, it's just, just kind of really speak negatively about it. But you don't know who that other person may be or who they may know. What if they're married to the vice president of the company you're applying for? Or they own a company, they'd love to hire you, but you're so negative about your work, they're not even going to consider you. Right? That's how you master your professional brand, right? It's become such a habit to kind of complain and moan about our jobs, but we really have to own how we present ourselves going forward. We really have to own our careers, who we are as professionals. Doesn't matter if the job is terrible, we always have to come across as amazing, valuable, powerful, collaborative, consistently performing professionals. And you are the one that gets to tell that story, build that story, share that story, and nurture relationships based on that. This step, item number 3, takes us a little bit deeper. And this is great for those of you who are already in a role and are looking to understand, like, how do I get noticed? How do I connect? How do I set myself up for a possible promotion in the future? I teach a course called Positioning Yourself for Promotion. And these are some of the tactics that come out of that. Is, first of all, when you're in a job, look for opportunities to add value. Now, you want to be careful with this. I don't want you to take this advice to the extreme of, well, I'm not doing the work I'm supposed to be doing because I'm helping other people do other things. You got to make sure you take care of your priorities, right? So have balance around this, but where can you add value? If your boss is struggling or they're really overloaded, is there a project that you can take on and support them with? Are there any cross-functional opportunities working with other departments where you can maybe learn, build some new relationships, and really provide support to other departments? Because when you create a situation where you've helped others, there's a gratitude exchange in that. You're building goodwill, and that can be a very, very powerful later on when you're trying to move up in the company. So where possible, cultivate those cross-functional collaborations and be eagle-eyed for what others need, right? Look for the opportunities. Does your manager need support? Does your senior manager, the district manager, regional manager, the VP, like, who really needs support? And whichever way is appropriate, which in the culture of your company, offer that support, right? Be the person that has the solutions, right? Sometimes we get afraid that we don't want to look like the goody two shoes, or we don't want to be the nerd at work. All these different things that we have in our heads that are clouding our mindset. But again, your professional brand, your experience in the workplace converts into your excellence in the workplace when you're coming from a place of contribution, right? Nobody's taking anything away from you if you're volunteering to do some extra work, if you're really stepping up. That's what gets you promoted. Doing your job doesn't get you promoted. It just means that you've earned your paycheck. but going above and beyond, really having innovative ideas, speaking up when it's appropriate, championing the people that need to be championed, fixing the things that need to be fixed without anybody asking you in an appropriate way. Like all of this adds up to your value, your collateral in the company. So look for opportunities to support others. Zig Ziglar, was a very famous motivational speaker and really did enormous amount of training for corporations all over the world, had a very powerful saying that you can have everything you want in life if you just help other people get what they want. When you're building that kind of goodwill, when you're building all these contributions that other people building up buckets of gratitude around this, that comes back. That comes back to you. People will remember when you supported them. So let's do just a quick review, right? We talked about taking this experience, this professional experience that you're having, and really elevating it into professional excellence by first crafting your mindset, right? Getting really clear about how you want to think about your job and your career, and understanding that they're not the same, and that you have a lot that you can do on how you represent, build, communicate, and represent your professional brand. What you think and say about your career becomes what you live in your career. People will remember people who invested in them, who took the time, who stepped above, who really went the extra mile. So look for opportunities to build alliances in the workspace, right? These are the opportunities for you to make yourself memorable, for you to be the standout person that when there is an opportunity, whether it's in your company or others, right? Because you can do this within your organization as well as outside, that when opportunities come up, people remember you as a really excellent professional. That is going to be life-changing in terms of the doors that open for you, the opportunities that you are invited to interview with, and the salary offers that you are receiving throughout your career. I've seen this so many times over my 14 years as a coach. These are part of the strategies that I coach my leaders and my aspiring leaders. And my clients are they're landing new jobs within 4 months with an average of a 25% increase in salary. So these methodologies, they're not just sound good or look good or feel good. They work, and they create life-changing success for professionals in the working world. So I hope that you truly embrace them, because this sounds so simple, yet it's so incredibly powerful. So that wraps up the formality of the presentation for this evening. I'm going to open it up back to Chris and to questions. So I'd love to hear what the value of the event has been for you, as well as any questions that you can have. We can do a little bit of Q&A.
All right, as Liz said, this is the Q&A portion. So if you want to post questions in the question section, now's the time to do it. And we already have some coming in.
Great.
Before I say that, it's a great presentation, Liz, as usual. And like you said, it's simple stuff that sometimes it's hard. You get caught up in things that maybe appear complex and you get distracted. And these tools that you're providing are fantastic. So let's get to the questions here. Someone is asking about, you talked about saving accomplishments and building your personal brand. And they're saying that they use Excel to kind of track what they do, but they wonder, do you have any go-to tools that you use to track your accomplishments?
Here's what I say. Use whatever you are going to reliably use, right? Some people use some really fancy software to do this. They download different programs. But if that's just going to be a learning curve for you, it's going to make you uncomfortable, then you're better off. Excel is great. You can choose to keep that as an Excel sheet on your computer or your laptop, or you can upgrade that to a Google sheet. You can upload it to Google so that it's accessible from any of your devices and it's shared in the cloud. That way, if your laptop breaks, you still have it. Some people like to use Evernote or some other note programs. Some individuals have some of the Apple versions of those programs where they can just take notes and they can add pictures to files. It really doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't care if this is a notebook written in crayon, as long as you are tracking your achievements in a reliable way, something you're going to do consistently.
Right. Yeah, that's the key, is keeping on top of it. Don't let those things fade in memory. All
Yeah.
right. Um, you were talking about finding ways to contribute. And this person is saying that often they find themselves, when they're looking for ways to contribute, that they kind of shy away from situations where they don't feel like they're going to kind of hit it out of the park. Are there any tips or advice, any advice that you can provide for people who maybe don't see that contributing in general is helpful?
I have 3 ideas. So the first of all, if you have a good relationship with your boss, if your boss is someone who's good at coaching and mentoring, to have a conversation with them and say that, you're looking for additional areas in which you can contribute, but you need some help to understand what's a good match for your skill sets, right? Item number 2 would be that if you feel like there's opportunities that pop up, but they require a certain skill or certain experience that you don't have, get the training, whether that's formally through your employer or get it on your own. If you can find free sources of the training, great. Maybe all you need to do is watch a YouTube video, but maybe you need to take a course or further your education or take a certification. At times, people really shy away from that, like, oh, well, my employer doesn't pay for it. Well, this isn't about your employer. This is about education that's going to serve you for the rest of your life. So sometimes you have to be willing to invest in yourself. And the third would be, to either work with a mentor who would be kind of maybe a volunteer, or if it's something that's really hindering in your career and you've got to really crack this code to really advance, is to work with a coach. And that may be me, it may be someone else, but someone who works with your type of industry or your level of employment can be transformational in guiding you to a whole different level of contribution, recognition, valuation, and eventually what kind of job and salary you have.
All right, thank you. We have a couple more questions here. It looks like they're both related to networking and relationship building. They're asking, is there an amount of time you would recommend for someone who works full time, but they want to network? Is there a balance that you can maybe suggest if they're not sure how much time to spend doing that?
Well, I recommend contacting and warming relationships with at least 2 people a week, right? So that can be phone calls, it could be emails, it could be messages. It depends on the relationship you have with the person. The more personalized you can make it, the better. As far as events, I would suggest once or twice a month going to a networking event. And if you can, if it aligns to your career and your industry, of course, we have to be a little careful of this now. Some of these are virtual rather than in person, but conferences, relevant conferences in your industry are a great way of meeting new people, great way to understand kind of what's happening outside your own work environment, really staying relevant in the industry and building a lot of great connections. Of course, you've got to balance this with your life, right? A single person is different than someone with 3 kids or someone with 3 kids working full time and going to school. I have clients that have just incredible energy, and I have others that really need to pace themselves. It depends on your life, but I'll repeat that formula: twice a week, nurture relationships. Once or twice a month, go to or participate in, whether it's virtual or live, some kind of networking event, whether it's local or pertaining to an association or industry. And about once or twice a year, go to a conference, go to a relevant conference for the type of work that you do or want to be doing.
Okay, great advice there. And I think you may have answered the next question. This person's saying that they often find that praising and celebrating others' accomplishments is a great way to build those relationships. Are there any other kind of, I don't want to say smaller, but easier or quicker ways to kind of keep those relationships going?
We overthink it, but sometimes it's just
Right.
asking people how they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Celebrating success is great. Remembering people's birthdays. If somebody says they have a vacation coming up, following up in a couple of weeks, hey, how was the vacation? We sometimes look for the strategy, but when it comes to these personal relationships, it's just about being people with people, right? Just be a good person in interaction, show interest in them, and that's really going to get a long way. You're going to have different types
Call.
of um, of these types of interactions, right? If you know the person really well, it's going to be a different conversation than if you don't know them as well. And Chris, I just wanted to mention in that screenshot that I had up was a link in case anybody wants the slides.
I think I accidentally took it down here. Let me get it back up. I apologize. One moment.
I just want them to see that link. There we go.
No, absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Right here, this little link, that link will add you to my email community, and I will send you the slides if you would like to have them, so you can have, kind of the guides and not feel like you have to remember it all. It'll have all the information there on the 3 different strategies that I shared today.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Liz. This is very helpful as usual. Great advice.